What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Teamfights happen all the time in the jungle, but something that may go unnoticed is the location where the teamfight occurs on the map can have a huge influence on the fight, especially if the fight is in the jungle. Let's get started. Now, when it comes to teamfighting in the jungle, there's a few major factors to take into account that set the situation apart from teamfights that may occur in lanes, around Dragon or Baron, or anywhere else where there is open space. The jungle is a confined area with lots of walls and corners, whereas most teamfights would occur in places that have open spaces. So of these major differences, the first is that in the jungle, positioning is absolutely king. Due to the confined areas and cramped spaces, kiting is very difficult since any small crowd control effect will leave you incredibly vulnerable. Because of this, a good initiation is much harder to play around and thus much more important and can easily decide fights. Have your initiators go in with their crowd control or whatever they have and set up solid positioning for your carries. It's also much easier for assassins to get around and flank because of their mobility, leading to isolated targets fairly easily, as mobile divers can easily jump the backline by looping around or going over a wall. Just be aware of where all your opponents are when fighting in the jungle. Next, being that vision is incredibly important. It's so easy to juke in and out of the bushes in the jungle as well as around the corners, so warding them or at least being aware of the vision you have and playing around that is really important. But in addition, you can use this to your advantage as well. Clearing wards as well as juking through bushes and corners are great ways to kite your opponents in fights in the jungle. And it's worth mentioning that crowd control and area effect abilities are much stronger in the jungle, as due to the cramped and confined spaces, players will tend to stack on top of each other much more than they normally would in open spaces. Crowd control will stop kiting and mobility completely, and due to the cramped spaces as well, it can lead to an easy target or some massive wombo combos, as a crowd controlled target can easily be jumped on by multiple players, as opposed to being kited out while only one person is in range to dive in. It's much easier to isolate targets in the jungle, since there are so many ways to block off players and zone them out. Whereas if you do manage to land some key crowd control onto an opponent, it's not as likely for their team to be able to follow them up, whereas in lane, they could protect their allies much easier. And as well, zoning is a big part of fights in the jungle, and so you can use your positioning to zone out opponents by putting them in a spot where they could end up isolated, leading to a favorable fight. Overall, fights in the jungle are just much more cramped and harder to control. It's easy to pick off and isolate targets, and juking is much easier as well, so be sure to set up solid positioning with a phenomenal initiation. My name is Jeremy, and that's it for my video on fighting in the jungle. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of my others on the screen right now, or stay connected at facebook.com/gamingcurios. And also I stream with some awesome commentary over at twitch.tv/Jeremy_gamingcurios, so be sure to check that out too. Drop a like and make sure to subscribe for some more awesome content in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.